the last video, we looked at some of the different types and operators available in JavaScript. In this video, we're going to learn what variables are and how they can be used in JavaScript. When we learned about types in the last video, we did it by writing out our values, and in some cases, performing computations on them. But what happens to that value? Well, we can see what it is in our console, but then it's gone. It would be really helpful if we could store our values for use later, and that is what variables are for. You can think of variables as boxes with names. In JavaScript, we can declare that there is a variable named favorite color. We do this by saying var favorite color. You can think of this as creating an empty box called favorite color. Right now there is nothing inside of this box, and if we were to look inside of it, there would be no value. We can do this by typing it into our console, the name of our variable that we want to look at. So in this case, we'll type in favorite color. And we'll see that there's no value returned. If there was a value in the box, we would see it displayed right below our expression here. We can now place something into our box by assigning a value to it with the equal sign. So we're going to assign the string green to our favorite color. So we'll say favorite color. We use the equal sign to say we're assigning, and we'll place our value, in this case, green. Now we can see that the resulting value was green in that expression. Now if we want to retrieve the value of favorite color, we can type it in again, and we'll see that the returning value is green. We can replace the value of our variable by assigning to it once again. So let's say favorite color equals pink. And we'll see that the resulting color was pink. And if we try to view it again by typing favorite color, we'll see that favorite color now stores pink. Now we can give our variables any name so long as it adheres to the following rules. The first letter must be a letter, an underscore, or a dollar sign, and the following letters can be letters, numbers, underscores, or dollar signs. The following variable names are valid: name, number of bananas, and you'll notice we're using capital and lowercase letters. Now JavaScript is case sensitive, so a capital O is different from a lowercase o. So we have to be mindful of our case. The number of bananas, you can see we're using underscores here to separate our words. This is a different style of separating words in multi-word variables. We can use div, and we can see that we're starting with a dollar sign in this particular example. We can do color 3 because we can have numbers after the first character of our variable name. And you can see we're using underscores in the beginning and in the middle here. Now invalid names are something like third name. Now this is invalid because the beginning of our variable name is a number and it cannot be a number. It would confuse JavaScript into thinking that it might be a number when it's trying to parse it. So do not start your variable names with numbers. And then if we wanted to do something like something else, again, we're using a character that's not allowed in variable names, in this case, the pound sign. Now there are some valid variable names that you shouldn't use. $1, $2, all the way up to $9 are valid variable names, but they're already used by JavaScript for regular expressions, so you cannot assign to them. Window and document are also heavily used by JavaScript, and you would not want to create your own variables with those names, or else you might screw up something else. Also, the $sign function and the double $sign function are often used by JavaScript libraries as special functions, so you don't want to use them yourself, or else you might overwrite their functionality if you choose to use them later. Now once we assign a value to a variable, we can use these variables just like their values. We can add them, subtract them, multiply, and divide. We can even store the resulting value of these operations into a new variable for later use. So let's try something out. We'll say var greeting equals hello. I'm going to put a space here. We'll create another variable called name, and we'll say Bob. And now, just like we did in our last example, we're going to use the alert function. But instead of putting in our own string here, we're going to combine the two variables, greeting and name, to create the sentence we want to alert. So we'll say greeting plus name. Now you notice we're using the plus here. Now does it work like concatenation or does it work like addition? Well, just by looking at this line alone, it's difficult to tell, because if greeting and name are numbers, then it will be addition. But we can see that greeting and name are both strings, so it'll work like concatenation. Now let's save out our script and load up our page. Once we refresh it, we see that we now have hello Bob, because that's the string concatenation we created. Now if we didn't want to do the string concatenation inside of our alert function, we could have created a third variable. So let's create one. Var message equals greeting plus name. And now we can alert our message. And what we can see here is that we're concatenating greeting and name together and storing that value into a new variable called message. And then we're using the message variable in our alert function. So if we load it up again, we'll see we get the exact same result. Hello Bob. Now that we've learned how to create and manage our own variables in JavaScript, in the next episode we're going to be looking at some of the comparison operators that help us inspect the actual values of our variables.